When most people watch Mission Impossible, they see a fun spy movie and it's awesome. What they're actually watching though is a feeling stoic, a contrast to the cold detachment often found in the classic spy archetype. Ethan Hunt stays impossibly rational while his entire world collapses around him. Throughout the film, he displays 5 stoic principles beautifully, and his journey throughout tests these principles to the core. A little background. Before the heist of the century, Ethan and his team are preparing for a mission and going after the same MacGuffin as when he's hanging from the ceiling, the knock list. It's a list of agents like Ethan positioned around the world. The list is highly valuable intelligence and sought by an arms dealer named Max, who we will meet later. Everything starts off going smoothly, but all of a sudden, things start to go very wrong. One by one, Ethan's team is killed, including his friend and mentor, Jim. Following protocol, he meets with Kittredge, who is the IMF director, the government agency Ethan is a field agent for. While debriefing the mission, on top of his whole team dying, Kittredge reveals that the mission wasn't real. It was part of an internal mole hunt.
Operation he referred to as Job 314.
This whole operation was a mole hunt.
This means that Ethan's team died for a fake mission, and because he's the last man standing, he's the prime and only suspect. Everything that defined him professionally has just been stripped away. What's left is just the man. And here's where you see something important. Ethan is clearly emotional here. Accompanying that emotion, and more importantly, unclouded by it, is an active embrace of what is, exactly as it is. Because fighting reality is one battle you are guaranteed to lose. Stoics call this Amor Fati, or love of fate. Ethan doesn't fight what happened to him, but it's one thing to accept reality and another to accept the results. Ethan, fueled by his emotions, escapes and now must assess what to do next. There's a saying from the Greek writer Aurelius, though appropriately adapted by the US Navy SEALs. Under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. It's here where Ethan has a few options, though he only ever considered one. He could run, hide, disappear. He knows how to do it, but this would mean he's running forever. It also means whoever set him up gets away with the death of his team, and that is unacceptable. So he leans heavily into the Stoic principle, the Dichotomy of Control. It states that there are some things within our power to change, and others that are not. Now, this is a huge subject in its own right, as it explores the complexity of human agency. But in this example, Ethan has taken a more modern approach. He wants to clear his name, but only has a few levers to pull. Because the knock list from his mission was a fake, even though he doesn't have it, he now has something of value to trade with Max, the arms dealer who did the original deal on Job 314. This is why it's critical Ethan meets with Max, as it's his one and only lead on the path to vindication. Noticing that Job 314 could be a biblical reference, he realizes it's not Job, it's Job. He then uses this alias to reach out to Max, the very alias of the person who took down his team. Even with this clue, Ethan is very much in the dark here. He has so little information, but chooses to move forward anyway. He doesn't linger or overassess, he catalogs his handful of resources, including the most important one, his resolve. To clear his name and avenge his team, he will only focus on what he can control. Though he is fully prepared to do this alone, one of his team members, Claire, shows up and Ethan explains the situation to her.
Whoever the mole is, I think goes by the name of Job. I can't find him, but if he knows I have the knock list, he'll find me.
Her appearance here, though, complicates things because of something that Kittredge said.
And like you said, you survived.
Being in such a vulnerable place, he wants to trust her, especially because of what's next. His meeting with Max puts Ethan in the most danger.
You wish to meet Max? The price of admission.
Ethan has no physical control whatsoever and will be at Max's mercy. Also, in his very recent profession, an arms dealer like Max is exactly the kind of person he would take down. On top of that, Max has a reputation for anonymity, which implies high intelligence and caution. And with that anonymity still intact, it further implies ruthlessness, hence the danger.
Who are you and what are you doing here?
I need $150,000.
Ethan explains everything clearly and directly. He wants money to finance the job of getting the actual knock list. But the missing piece here for Ethan is trust, which is why his honesty is so important.
I'm knock. Was. Now disavowed.
Why, may I ask?
That is the question I want to ask Job.
When it comes to trust though, honesty is not enough. You need to make your goals clear. That lets the other person assess first if you're honest, and second if their goals align with yours. Ethan makes it clear he wants Max to arrange a meeting with Job. But of course, why should she?
Why should I?
Because I can deliver the actual knock list. The one you have is not only worthless, it's certain to be equipped with a homing device to pinpoint your exact location.
With this also being true, you now have so many layers of truth that together form trust. Stoic philosophy emphasizes being very careful with your words, suggesting that speech is a reflection of character. Although words are a start, if you can turn them into deeds, like preventing Max's arrest, you let those actions speak for you. This same principle runs through the Dune series.
Come here. Kneel.
This scene with the Reverend Mother and Paul is specifically about controlling fear and proving worthiness through words and actions. Both examples are windows other people will use to view your deeper self. The way you speak, the words you use, and most importantly, your intent can influence the world around you. With Max's trust secured, he gets the money, hires Luther and Krieger, and prepares the team to head over to CIA headquarters.
Relax, Luther. It's much worse than you think.
Ethan explains that the computer terminal they need to access is in a vault that's protected by a series of security checks, a 6-digit access code, a voice print ID, retinal scanner, and an electronic keycard. When the technician is not in the room, there are also 3 security protocols that are always active. First is sound. Anything above a whisper sets it off. The second detects any increase in temperature, from, say, an unauthorized person's body heat, for example. The temperature is controlled by the air conditioning pumped in from a vent 30 feet above the floor that is also guided by a laser net. The last measure is on the floor. Any amount of pressure sets it off.
Believe me when I tell you, gentlemen, all 3 systems are state of the art.
Stoics call this the discipline of perception, best encapsulated by Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. How you see obstacles determines your ability to handle it. Stoics advise viewing challenges objectively, as neutral events rather than just bad ones, and recognizing that while external events cannot be controlled, your perspective is entirely within your control. People often give up when obstacles are many and the effort is great, but the Stoic just sees a list of things to consider and how this will shift their actions. This perspective alone does not eliminate risk or guarantee success, but makes you more prepared. If things go wrong, as they often do, it's not enough to derail your mission. When you hold this perspective, you see things as they are, and you inevitably start to notice things with full clarity.
On one of your cushy recruiting assignments again?
Hey, where'd they put you up this time? The Plaza?
Drake Hotel, Chicago.
It's right here that Ethan puts it all together. Jim took this Bible from another mission and used it as inspiration for his communications with Max. This means Jim is the mole, but he's not working alone. Krieger is holding the same knife Ethan found in one of his team members, and Claire recruited Krieger. He is then approached by Jim a little later, confirming his suspicions.
You're a hard man to catch up with.
By having a clear perspective, the world around you becomes much easier to see, to notice patterns and coincidences. With this revelation, Ethan sees the path ahead.
If I supposedly deliver the knock list to Max, Max has agreed to deliver Job to me.
With all the pieces in place, everyone teed up, the list, Max, Kittredge, and even Jim, Ethan still has a lot to do. He has to sell the list to Max, prevent her from using it, expose Jim, and clear his own name. The one thing Ethan is unsure about, his one blind spot, is Claire's involvement. By applying prior principles, he incorporates that question into his plan.
We take the money. Ethan takes the blame.
Though Stoics advocate for moral and good actions in most circumstances, it leaves room for these kinds of deceptions as long as they're in the service of justice rather than for personal gain or malice. With Claire's involvement confirmed, it's now time to lift the mask of Jim's deception.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps.
What you're watching here is the payoff of every principle that came before it. The equanimity from the betrayal, the control after being stripped of everything, the integrity from the conversation with Max, the focus from the vault, and the clarity that put it all together. It all arrives here as one clean, precise, perfectly timed move. He acted with the right intention at the right moment. The Stoics call this the discipline of action. He moves with purpose, choosing actions that are reasonable and moral rather than impulsive or irrational. Though it does get pretty crazy here at the end. But there's one thing Ethan never does across the entire film. He never asks why this is happening to him. He asks what is happening all the time, but not why. The why question feels like an honest response to injustice. It feels like something you're owed, but it's actually the thing that keeps most people anchored to a moment they can't change. Meanwhile, the window for what they could do closes around them. Every Stoic principle in this film is downstream from the practiced discipline of moving past what we can't change. The clarity, the honesty, the patience, the focus, none of it is available to someone who's still arguing with reality. The impossible part of the mission is to anchor the rational, to focus on what comes next, all in the face of brutal emotional turmoil, betrayal, or strife. It's not easy, but it means every issue you deal with is also an opportunity to practice. And if you're a human, spending time with other humans, you will definitely have plenty of opportunities to practice. That's the test, though, for whatever you're facing, whenever you're facing it. The circumstances will change, but the discipline is identical, and what you do next is always up to you. Thanks for watching.